Sorry? Are we going to start then, or are we waiting?
It's okay to start up once the games get started.
Okay. No. Good morning, Jeff.
Good morning, Jeff.
No.
The mics are on, so.
Oh, we ready? Good morning, everybody. Today is May 20th. This is a regular council meeting of the Town of Rocky Mountain House. First thing I would like to do is call the meeting to order. And we have an agenda before us. If anybody has any additions, deletions to the agenda? Councillor Chappelle?
Thank you. Also move the agenda as presented.
Thank you for that. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. So we have number 3.1, a delegation from Rocky Public Library. We have Ben Worth and Lori Pratt. If you guys would like to come forward and make sure you turn the button on for your mics. And welcome.
There we go. You want me to start?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, great. Deputy Mayor Hutchinson, council members, staff, thank you for the opportunity to present to council today on behalf of the board of the Rocky Mountain House Public Library. I'm the board chair, and I'm very honored and privileged to be in that position. I grew up in Clearwater County. From the time we could read, my mother would bring us to the big town of Rocky Mountain House on Saturdays, and we would pick our selection of library books for the next 2 weeks. Back in my early days, the library was at the bottom of the Mountaineer building. Trudging up and down those stairs, clutching an armload of books, was a feat for a 6-year-old. It was so exciting to have the new building over in its current location, just down the street from here. And even with its sunken entrance, I don't know if there's anybody around that remembers that, but it was a great new facility and a great building. The books and the stories I read fed my sense of adventure and a certain sense of dramatic flair as I became a heroine in my own life. Fast forward a few decades, and our library has changed, as have the needs of our community. And it's not just those cosmetic changes, like the sunken entrance that's no longer there. We've moved beyond books. You can now browse the internet, learn ukulele, book out a bird watching kit, and most of all, you can speak above a whisper. As our community has evolved, the library has as well. Yet our public library continues to be a welcoming space for children, families, and individuals looking for something to read or do, or needing help with printing, accessing genealogy records, to foster the love of learning and knowledge, to have a safe space to access that knowledge. As it says in my favorite children's book, The Phantom Tollbooth, you can swim all day in the sea of knowledge and not get wet. Our library welcomes those who wish to dive in or just dip a toe, whether it be for assistance with their resume or to join a gaming tournament. And if you haven't been in a while, please stop by and make sure your library card is up to date. We are in the initial steps of updating our plan of service, also known as our strategic plan, this year, and we'll be referring to council's own planning documents and seeking input from the community to ensure we continue to adapt and meet our community's needs. I'll turn it over to our library manager, Ben, to make any further comments, and then we're also welcome to answer any questions that council may have.
Yeah, thanks, Lori. Yeah, so we really wanted to just take the time to come here and thank council for all the support, and also make sure that you're all aware that our library is so much more than just books for our community. That, as you can see from the graphics we shared, books are obviously the first thing that many people think of when they think of a public library, but there are so many other services and resources that we make available to our community members. So absolutely, if you haven't visited in a while, please feel free to drop by. I'd be happy to give a tour to anyone who wants to stop by. Make sure your card's up to date. Library cards are free to all community members of county and town. And just happy to answer any questions you may have.
Forget that's me. Thank you so much. The library is such a great asset. And looking at your stats here, it's just great to see the increase that has happened over this last year. So having said that, I will open the floor if anybody would like some discussion. Councillor Auld?
Thanks, Deputy Mayor. I just have a question regarding, you mentioned your genealogy database. Can you explain, can you go into that a little bit further? Like how does that work at the library?
So we have access at the library to the Ancestry.com database. So from that, it's something you can access for free in library. So from there, you can just look up a variety of records that have been added to that database online. So if you're looking for information for past family, like birth certificates, marriage certificates, those kind of documents, those are commonly available through that resource.
I realize that, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none, well, once again, thank you both very, very much. As I said, it's a great asset to the community, and we look forward to everything that you have coming up in the future.
Okay. Oh, well, and Deputy Mayor, just to close, I'd just like to say our library board and community are very grateful for the ongoing financial support from the town of Rocky, and not just the financial support, because I know anytime our library manager has a question, the staff at town and county have just been amazing. If he's, has questions about, HR things or other things and stuff like that. And maintenance staff is always amazing as well. So we're very grateful for that ongoing support. It's a really great example of how two municipal governments can work really well together. And I personally, as a former government elected official way back in the ancient history anymore, I'm very appreciative of that, as well as the 6-year-old kid who went to the library to read. So thank you so much for helping make it seamless and continuing to provide the support.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah,
Thanks.
thank you.
My apologies, everyone. I am extremely sore for this.
Just give Acting Mayor Phillips a couple seconds to get together. And if I could introduce Mr. Paul Bonnert up from CTS Academy, and he can start his presentation as soon as the Acting Mayor gets his laptop started.
Actually, you can start your presentation now, please.
Actually, he's okay with just starting when you're ready. Thank you.
Okay.
Good morning, Council, leadership of Rocky Mountain.
Just
There we go. Okay. Thank you for the opportunity this morning to speak to council here. I've been traveling the province, in about 12 now, smaller communities around all of Alberta to talk about this particular initiative, which I think you may find very intriguing. A number of your cohorts around the province here, as close as Drayton Valley and as far away as Bassano, have heard this presentation, so I hope this intrigues you. Anyways, I'm here representing the Alberta CTS Academy, which is a new initiative that's just been put forth to Alberta Education in December. We came up with an idea from a unusual consideration that happened. Back in November of 2024, I was presenting on behalf of the Alberta Chamber of Commerce on the workforce challenges that Alberta has in this province and what high school students could mean to those challenges. I asked the initial question of how many people in the 250 people had CTS credits, and of them, many of them were academics, ministers of post-secondary, VP of Suncor, those types of people. And what we found was 10 people in the room had CTS credits. And we were talking about workforce challenges and being aware of what occupational opportunities we had in this province. The second question I asked was, how many of you have more than 5 credits? And unfortunately, there was no one in the room. And with that, that was my point, that we were talking about how to deal with workforce challenges, and nobody in the room had high school credits past 5 credits in career education. So what we did is we created an initiative here to address many of the things that the Alberta Chamber of Commerce has put forward. They've talked about high school students and how only 20% of high school students are prepared to go into the workforce directly out of high school. And we're finding from the research that we've done that more than 2/3 of students are going into the workforce immediately after high school, or trying to. Post-secondary seems to be a secondary choice these days because the extreme expense that they have to go into that, especially without any background. So what we're hoping to do here is provide an initiative where high school students have an extensive background on career opportunities and challenges that you would have throughout the province, but primarily in rural Alberta, because rural Alberta has more challenges. They don't have the access to big center post-secondary institutions. They don't have access to collegiates. They don't have access to large staffs, generally speaking. And Rocky Mountain House actually has the biggest school that we would be working with, which having about 370 students, high school students, is a big school for what our initiative will go after. But we think we can definitely help because of the area that you're in. As beautiful as it is, we know that you're a significant distance from some major centers. So I'll introduce myself briefly here. I'm currently a middle and high school teacher in Southern Alberta. I'm also a researcher and work for the University of Alberta and the University of Lethbridge in career education. I've been doing educational research on careers for about 15 years. And I work with over 2,000 Alberta teachers that deal with career education in this province. So I have a significant background in this. I have great connections in the education world. I don't in the occupational world because with my full-time job as a teacher still, and my secondary job as a researcher for the U of A and the U of L, it's difficult for me to make these networking opportunities like today. Our academic team, we work with 7 Alberta administrators, high school administrators that give us a lot of feedback on where we should be going with this direction, and we work with 23 vocational and professional advisors in all sectors of professional vocational opportunities. So the workforce challenges, according to the Alberta government stats, right now we have 20,000 unfilled jobs in this province. Over the next 10 years, we're going to find that there's 61,000 new openings a year. Of 75,000, and an additional 75,000 new and replacement job openings a year. What we have in this province is a major concern of how do we fill those spots? And our suggestion is we have more than 70,000 high school students a year graduating in Alberta. 18,000 of those students are from rural Alberta. Over the next 10 years, Alberta will graduate 800,000 students, but less than 10% of them will have had career education. And that's no fault of anyone's other than we all have to have biology, we all have to have math, we all have to have language arts and social studies and things like that. So students are choosing not to take career education because you need those other ones to graduate with a specific high school diploma. So the workforce challenges in this province are not being met. We have an increase in job vacancies. We have an increase in unemployment, which doesn't add up. And our suggestion is that the youth are not meeting this need because they're very intimidated by the unknown. They're very unprepared for jobs, and they're very unaware of the jobs that are out there. If we are able to provide this CTS high school program, we will alleviate a lot of these factors, especially for rural students and remote students. Alberta government likes to think that they will answer this by building new schools. And we all know that it takes time to build a building. We also know that most of these buildings will not have CTS labs in them because they're very expensive. And we also know that the pace is outdoing the demand, the pace is falling far behind from the demand. And what does that mean to impact rural students? Rural areas are not a priority unless your schools are very old. And remote areas are also not a priority right now, specifically with CTS funding. So we fall back on the registered apprenticeship program, which I know Rocky Mountain House has a really good program. I've been working with Drayton Valley, Brazoria County, and I'll be meeting with your county here, your Reeve, in about an hour, but also presenting in front of that county in about 2 or 3 weeks, I guess it is from now. And our goal here is to deal with this apprenticeship program. If we talk about the engaging numbers that we have in this province, we don't engage large numbers. Alberta government says we have a great registered apprenticeship program. We do. It's fantastic. But when we compare it to other parts of the world and the numbers that other parts of the world are addressing, we only deal with about 50 programs. In Scotland, they have over 700 apprenticeship programs. In Germany, they have 350. In Ireland alone, they have 73. And their enrollments are much higher. In Germany, 50% of their students in high school take some form of professional vocational career education. So the rural placements are very limited for RAP programs, which is obvious because of the population. And again, it's very intimidating for these rural students to step beyond high school if they've never been exposed to it. So here's a quick example of what Alberta looks like to Germany. The red in the German side is the number of students in high school that take vocational career education. And in Alberta, the small red gap there is somewhere between 3 and 5% high school students take CTS credits in Alberta. So we have a significant gap here that needs to be met. I know in this region you have applied for a collegiate, which is through the Wild Rose School Division, and I believe they should find out here in the next couple of weeks. Collegiates are great. They're very expensive, and I don't mean specifically for the community, but for the Alberta government to build buildings and to form these programs. And if you're not in the community where these collegiates are, it's very difficult to transport students back and forth. So it becomes almost like a post-secondary where they still have to leave the community. So if we talk about $9 million per school, the 12 that exist, about 1,000 students can attend it right now. Only 8 out of 12 of those are in urban Alberta. And the 2 that are in rural Alberta are very specialized. There's one on big trucking up in northern Alberta, and there's one on being aviation in Medicine Hat. So this is our solution, and quickly to present what we are hoping to bring to Rocky Mountain House. I believe you have this document in your package. It's the short version of the Academy of what we can do for the different communities, the why, what, where, and how. So I won't go over those. But what I will introduce to you is the partnerships that this will form in our region provincially, and hopefully within your region here in Rocky Mountain House and within the county itself. As you can see, there's a lot of different groups up there. Right now, schools tend to run in silos for the most part. Schools are run within their buildings unless you have an extended program. It's rare to see those kids in the community unless they have a registered apprenticeship program. What our hope is that we form a partnership with the town of Rocky Mountain House, with Clearwater County, with Drayton Valley, and with Brazier County, that we can bring these students out into your community here to show what the opportunities you have in this area with daily instruction, without addressing the staffs in these schools. Now, these are some of the partnerships we've already formed. We've had current dialogue. You're part of that right now, and the initial dialogue, you can see we are moving all over the province to try and get this rolling. We're dealing with industry partnerships, many that are vocational, red certificate, and a number of provincial associations. We're dealing with economic partners, whether it's the Chamber of Commerce or economic development groups around the province, but also just the rural municipality groups that are out there as well. This is the pilot schools that we put forth. You can see that the one from West Central is on this group. You can also see that Frank Manic is on this group. But what we did is we chose 12 schools to be all over the province here so that we are defining ourselves within the first 4 or 5 years of our pilot. That way we know what students are accessing us and what we can best do for your community. So we are going after rural students to give them more access. All the schools that we deal with will be less than 400 students. We're going to provide flexible hours from 8 till 5 p.m. so students can access us outside of their school day. They can access us during their lunchtime. They can access us through their prep time or their spare time. We will personalize each course for that student. If they want to become a firefighter or forest fire management, if they want to become a nurse, if they want to become a cook, if they want to become a programmer, we can provide all that, and we'll show you here really quickly on how we will do that. We have a very diverse alignment of courses, so the students won't be just in a woodworking shop working on woodworking for 5 credits anymore. Within that, if we do that, we would be able to offer a marketing credit. We would be able to communications credit. So there's a whole diverse combination here that we'll be able to offer. We'll be working on employability skills, multiple career pathways. The best thing about this is there's no tuition fees. A student can learn about these careers without going to post-secondary and investing that amount of money and potentially losing that if they don't choose to go in that direction. We also provide more confidence in pursuing post-secondary and more confidence in seeking employment. So this is how we'll help the school here in Rocky Mountain House. Most rural schools have smaller populations, and what we provide for the smaller populations is a virtual opportunity for those students. We would have daily instruction for those students, and we become an extension of the high school in town here. So they gain the credits from their high school or for their high school towards their high school, and we take none of the funding from it at all. And what that does allow is those teachers within the building then to be more specialized. They don't have to teach one shop class or a foods class or a welding class and then go back into the math room or the social studies class. We're the ones that will provide the career education with hopes to create opportunities within your community that a student can go out and work experience. So rather than just being within their school in that lab space, they might work at the local cafe, they might work at the local library that was just here. And given those opportunities to see what logistics are like, what the actual real world looks like when they're working. But the big thing that most schools appreciate is that we're not drawing from their funding at all. We're a separate funded group, a pilot through Alberta Education, so we won't take any funding away from that particular school. So we're not competitors with the school and the community, we're actually partners with the community. So the impact of the community, rural students stay local. This came about from the Reeve of Ponoka, Paul McLaughlin. He did a CBC interview on the importance of keeping students or giving opportunities to students into their communities so that they don't go to Wetaskiwin or Red Deer, and then when they leave, they don't come back to the community. So our goal here is to provide mentorships within the community and connections within the community and the workforce so that the students can stay local. They can figure out how to become a viable contributor to the community and stay within the community to help with the resiliency of the smaller communities around Alberta. And then the Indigenous communities, we work with all of them as well through Indigenous advisors and elders that will provide us those connections to the cultural differences that those particular students have. So the second document you have is just the summary of the advantages of this four-year community. And here's a brief summary of 195 one-credit courses that we offer in the first year. After 2 years, we'll be able to offer over 520 credits for high school student opportunities. We will be able to provide multiple in-person visits with our team. We would come into your community, work with your students 3 or 4 times a semester. We also would do daily virtual connections with those students. They may only be 15, 20 minutes long, but then they work within their building to do the projects or their assignments. But they have that constant daily. So we're not a distance learning group, and we're not a homeschooling group that only has a facilitator. We're actually there for instruction. We work with the Alberta Chamber of Commerce and their job fairs, and we would be able to expose students to lots of employment opportunities and career opportunities, whether they're in your community or just in the province themselves. So just so you're familiar with CTS, CTEC is the group that I work with provincially with teachers. We have over 1,000 one-credit courses in Alberta for CTS career education. Most people aren't unaware of that. Most superintendents are unaware of that. I talk in front of student superintendents often about what CTS is and what education that can bring for students. What we're asking from the town of Rocky Mountain House is a formal endorsement to the Alberta government. So that would be a letter saying that we think this is a good idea. We hope, or we strongly support, that Alberta Ed funds this project. We'd ask that you become an advocate for our group within your community. We ask that you become a networking group for us, because the small group that we are, 13 teachers, we're spread out around the province. We don't know Rocky Mountain House, obviously, as well as you do. We don't have the connections that you would have. So we would make that connection. We need this many placements and this many types of jobs. How can you help us out with that? Suggestions for potential work experience, recruitment of regional partners, and then to help us spread the word. And what we mean by that is being able to work collectively as a partnership. We don't look for any funding from your group. We just need your networks, the people that we can reach out to and say, you know, we've got 4 kids at Rocky Mountain at the West Central High School. Where can we place them? What are your suggestions? So that working with you and the economic development groups and the chambers, that's where our networks would be. Thank you. I'm open to any questions.
Deputy Mayor Hutchinson.
Thank you. I love the idea of this program. I'm on the Rocky Learning Council board, and we've often had conversations there about how, you know, not everybody learns inside that box. And one of the comments was made that to be getting into the schools earlier with the opportunity to explore more than just, well, the comm course that they get. And I like the idea that this is, what did you say, grade 5 to grade 9? I mean, often there's the open houses and the things like that, but that comes later, like grade 10, 11, and 12. You know, to be able to have the opportunity to go from grade 5 to grade 9, dipping their toes in the water, so to speak, to be able to move forward on that path. To me, this just makes sense. I like it.
If I can just comment on that. Our main focus would be grade 9 students to help them move into high school, but we do have that program in CTF for 5 to 9, that's right.
Okay, I've got Councillor Shippolt and then Councillor Mooster.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. This is a great initiative, and I commend you for that. You talked about trades. Would you take it all the way to a red seal at the end? Is that sort of an objective of the trades, is to get it to a red seal certification?
We're working with post-secondaries right now with Polytechnique and Red Deer, and as well as Olds College, to try and figure out how the best we can provide that background for students to get into those programs. So if they might only take 5 or 10 credits from us, but they would be well on their way to realizing that I want to become a welder or a chef, and that way they're better prepared when they get to the post-secondaries. So that is our hope, is that we would guide them in that direction, but it would be up to that student, obviously, once they went to post-secondary to attain that. Many of our instructors are red sealed already, so we'd be working with quite experienced CTS teachers in the province here.
Councillor Mooster.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. This is a great presentation. It's inspiring. Thank you for coming in and bringing this. As somebody who is a red sealed tradesman and went from high school purely academic because CTS wasn't available into an apprenticeship, the fact that you mentioned it's intimidating for students, it is a big jump. I didn't know what I was getting into, but I was committed to being successful at it. This provides, it just really resonates with me. It could have avoided a lot of pitfalls that I had just from having access to CTS courses, which I didn't. So everything about this really rings for me. Thank you.
Thank you. If I may comment just on that.
Yep, for sure.
Some of our research has found, echoes what you say, that students that do enter an apprenticeship, if they do quit, often they don't return back to school. So that means in grade 11 or possibly grade 2, they don't actually graduate with their diploma. In Ontario, they're finding major problems with this, is that people are dropping out of apprenticeship programs because they weren't prepared for it and they went in the wrong direction. And that way they don't go back to high school to finish off even their high school career. So it's great that we hopefully will be able to provide that background.
Yeah.
Did you have a follow-up question?
Just a follow-up comment. Yes, so in my apprenticeship, there was a large, and this is 40 years ago, a large dropout after the basic going to school. And I don't know what happened to those guys, but it was this massive fall off in apprentices that just dropped out of the program.
Councillor Wald.
Thanks, Acting Mayor. I just want to echo councillors around the room. I think this is great. I personally had 4 children go through West Central. Only one of them had any clue what they wanted to do. They didn't know what was available out there for them. I think having different avenues where they're not all pigeonholed, like you said, into learning the social and the biology and the must-haves, I feel that preparing them for the workforce is more important than figuring out what an amoeba is. So I am full support of this, and my only question would be, what have you gotten from the government so far as support?
Okay. Locally here, from the school board, I've been working with Wild Rose School Division. They're aware of what we want to do, and they are currently talking to the principals to find out how we would fit into this community. Alberta Education, we're working with Deputy Minister right now. We've talked for only 3 months, which is a very short period of time. They don't know what hoops to throw in front of us because we are so new and the idea is so new that they don't have any new hoops to throw in front of us. So it's sitting on their desks. I believe they're waiting for the collegiate announcements that they're about to make, which I hope that your area is able to get one of them, because they are good. They're just very limiting. Where we think we can add to that collegiate atmosphere, we wouldn't compete with it as well. So we have 2 ministers that have written endorsements for us. We have not had a face-to-face with Alberta Education Minister, but we have worked with 2 of this deputy ministers. And some people say that's a good thing, so we're not certain if that means that they're just trying to finalize how they'll go about doing this. We are, when you consider $9 million for a brand-new collegiate, our budget is only $3 million. And the reason why is we don't have a building. We're a virtual building, and so that's very attractive to Alberta.
Okay, I'm not seeing any further questions, but this is, definitely exciting news for rural communities, in particular Rocky Mountain House, and we hope that this will bear some fruit down the road in the future.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah. If I may just say one more comment.
Yes.
I am from Lethbridge, and I thought it was really important to be in the room, and I try to get all of these places because virtually, we will eventually be virtual, but we also want you to know that we will be in the community. We'll be here 3 or 4 times a semester to make sure that we get a sense and we get to smell the outdoors in the springtime here. Thank you for the opportunity. I look forward to working with you.
Okay, thank you, Paul. Okay, so we're going to move on in the agenda to adoption of the previous minutes. Has everyone had a chance to read those minutes? And is there any errors or omissions or anything that needs to be changed? Councillor Ault.
If there's no changes, I would make the motion we adopt the regular council minutes of May 6, 2025.
Thank you for that motion. Discussion on that motion? All those in favor? That is carried. Moving on to delegation business, 5.1, the Rocky Library Board. Do we have any discussion, comments? Deputy Mayor Hutchinson.
If nobody has any comments, I would just accept that for information.
Okay, thank you for that motion. Discussion on that motion? Call that to a vote. All those in favor? And that is carried. Item 5.2, the CTS Academy presentation we just had. Comments? I know they're looking for a letter of endorsement. Deputy Mayor Hutchinson.
Oh, I didn't know I was still on. I would make that motion to write a letter to endorsement for the CTS programming to the Alberta government.
Okay, thank you for that motion. Do we have any discussion on that particular motion? Call that to a vote. All those in favor? And that is carried. Moving on to item 6.1, the ATCO franchise agreement. Mr. Kraus.
Yeah, thank you, Acting Mayor. So Council previously gave first reading to the bylaw to renew the franchise agreement with ATCO. The next step was to send it to the Alberta Utility Commission for approval. That has been done, and the AUC has approved it. So right now where we're at in the process is for Council to give second and third reading to the bylaw, and then we can sign the agreement for the franchise.
Thank you. Councillor Shippold.
I think we're straightforward here, so I'll make the motion. Let it resolve the council give second reading to bylaw 2025/01 ATCO Gas and Pipelines Limited franchise agreement.
Thank you for that motion. Discussion? All those in favor? And that is carried. And Councillor Capurro.
Thank you. I'll make the last motion here. Be it resolved that council give third reading to bylaw 2025/01 ATCO Gas and Pipelines Limited franchise agreement.
Okay, thank you. Discussion on that motion? I'll call that to a vote. All those in favor? And that is carried. Moving on to item 6.2, the AB Munis resolution. And Mr. Kraus or Mrs. Breeze?
Thank you, Acting Mayor, Council. So the resolution was sent out on Friday, and just prior to that, I received feedback from AB Munis. So I'll just read out, so the email came back from Darren Reedy, and he basically says, "Hi Tracy, attaches my feedback on your draft resolution on the provincial collection of provincial property taxes. Nothing substantial that he'd like to see. The intent is clear. He has made some recommendations, though, to change the title from provincial removal of education property tax from municipal tax bill to removal of provincial property tax from municipal tax bill." That actually sounds the same. And a little bit of background, he's recommending take a couple things out, and also some of the references in the bottom. He does not want referencing to actual resolutions that have been done in the past, just a summary of those. So my recommendation to council, if they're happy with the intent, which is staying the same, is to approve the resolution with keeping the intent the same, but making a couple minor changes as recommended by AB Munis.
Okay, thank you for that presentation. Do we have discussion on this resolution? You know, in speaking with other municipalities at different events outside of the community, this is a topic that is becoming very important to a lot of communities, that you know, the increasing costs from the provincial government on the property tax requisitions to municipalities, it's time that we separate those and have the province collect their own tax on their own behalf. So we have a recommended alternative in front of us. Deputy Mayor Hutchinson.
I'm not going to be able to repeat exactly what Ms. Breeze just said, but I would put forward the motion to continue to have Ms. Breeze's recommendations. I'm fighting for words today. To be resolved that council accept the draft resolution with changes recommended, minor changes recommended by AB Munis. Does that cover it?
And put forth for a seconder.
And put forward for a seconder.
Okay, everyone clear on that motion?
Not me.
Any discussion on that motion? We'll call that to a vote. All those in favor? And that is carried. Moving on to 6.3 disc golf. Mr. Kraus.
Yeah, thank you, Acting Mayor. So council, as part of the 2025 capital budget, was to develop a 18-hole disc golf course. Through the process, a site was selected that was also going to utilize some school property or suggested. So in administration's discussions with the school up to recently, it was basically going to be under the same principle of the agreement that we had with the spray park and the skateboard park, where they permit us to build on their property and we maintain that infrastructure that is put there. And it's open for, obviously, students and all of the public to use. And we were going down that path with the disc golf, but at near the end of those negotiations, I would say a couple more conditions were requested by the Wild Rose School Division. And those conditions were that we sever the current maintenance agreement for Curtis Field, which is school property, and we maintain through a contract, and they compensate us for that. Then plus that we take over their parking lot and the maintenance, crack ceiling, line painting, and all of that, which was a little disheartening because I know the superintendent and I have had discussions in the past on that, and the town just doesn't have the capacity with our current levels of staffing and equipment just to take that on. So I advised the superintendent that, I'll bring this forward, his request to council, to see if council is amenable to those requests for the disc golf. Administratively, obviously, that causes us a budget impact of close to $46,000 a year, so it would be a 0.5% tax increase for the disc golf, basically what it comes down to. So what administration is recommending is that we proceed with 9 holes that would be entirely on municipal property, just so our public can have that facility to utilize, and continue negotiations with the school division for a more feasible solution to have an 18-hole disc golf course, which we're recommending that perhaps that starts off with a letter from council to the board. So I'll leave it for council's discussion.
Councillor Auld.
I just want to say I'm very disappointed in how this come back from the school division. To me, it sounds like they are looking for additional money and figured this is going to be an easy way out because this is something that the community wants. And for them to tack on an extra $46,000 in maintenance cost to the town, I think is absurd. I definitely think we need to redo this joint use agreement, or they need to follow the agreement, the spirit of the agreement. Very frustrated that they've gone this route, so I would be willing to make a motion if anybody else has got comments.
Okay, yeah, please go make your motion. Oh, Counselor Busker.
Before you make that motion, thank you, Acting Mayor. Before you make that motion, do we really want to start with the 9-hole? The whole plan was to go with an 18. I just want to know where everybody else is at.
Did you have, Counselor Shippled?
Thank you, Acting Mayor. I guess to Councilor Whisker, I agree we're looking at 18, and I'm not sure if we've explored absolutely every option we have available. Is there anything else for an area that we could do it? It'd be unfortunate to put in 9 and not ever get access to the school property. I'm just wondering if, since we're in the starting phases, if there's something we've missed someplace along Highway 11 or somewhere, I don't know. I'm just thinking maybe we just need to put our heads together to look at a possible another location before we move ahead with 9.
Counselor Ald.
I'd be willing to take another look at it as well. But one of the big things with the disc golf is that it's so mobile. It's not permanent structures. It's easily modified. If we had something set up this year for the 9-hole and next year it come to fruition with the Wildrose School Division, it's very simple to remove them and put them somewhere else. I would like to see our residents have access to this, even if it is just 9, if there was somewhere suitable that we could come up with for it. But we could throw it back to administration as just one last look at it and see if there's somewhere we could do an 18.
Yeah, my only concern is if we go ahead with the 9 and for some reason we can't get the other 9 negotiated with the school division, then we're stuck with a 9-hole course, and I would like to have that uncertainty solved before moving forward. I think it's a great idea. I think it's something that the community would definitely appreciate and use, but I just want to make sure we have certainty moving forward. Deputy Mayor Hutchinson.
Thank you. Well, I think like Councillor Ald said, that the ability to move a 9-hole course is easy, simple enough to do. You know, to do the 9 holes as we've got presented in front of us, see what kind of reaction we get from the residents. If it's something that is used on a regular basis and we see a lot of use, then explore that opportunity to maybe do the 18 holes, and it would be, I'm assuming, fairly simple to just move the original 9 and add that to 9 more someplace else.
Councillor Ald.
As long as we're not doing a bunch of structural maintenance to create a 9-hole, and then that money's wasted once we move somewhere else. Like, if we were removing trees and making lanes and whatnot for a 9, I think that'd end up being a waste of money if we're gonna end up moving it. So I would like to see where the 9-hole would go and what kind of setup it would be before we committed to it. Can I make a motion?
Yes, yes, you can.
So I'd make a motion that administration goes back to the drawing board to see where we could put a 9-hole disc golf course in town of Rocky Mountain House limits, and see what options we have for that location before we make a decision.
Councillor Shipple.
I'm sorry, Councillor Ald, do you mean an 18-hole or a 9?
9-hole to start. We've gone through the maps. We don't have a location for an 18. I trust that Wes and administration have done their due diligence on that. I would say that administration looks for a location for the 9-hole disc golf course for now and see what our options are.
Mr. Kraus?
Yeah, so Acting Mayor, just for clarification, if council proceeded with the 9-hole, it would be as per the map in your package. That would be just on municipal property, so adjacent to the school site.
Councillor Ald?
That, I was unclear on that. I thought that still involved some of the school property, so thank you.
I would like to see a discussion with the school division, just to see how that's playing out. I know this is a surprise and a big disappointment, as Councillor Ald alluded to, that the school division has taken this stance, but I think it's prudent to have a discussion with them first before proceeding. Deputy Mayor Hutchinson.
Thank you. As I understand it, there has been discussions with Wild Rose. Maybe you can clarify that, Mr. Kraus?
No, there has been discussions between Mr. Arment and the staff at Wild Rose School Division, right? And to be honest, I mean, going through that process, it was all positive. It's just this last minute, I guess, condition that they asked for is what's kind of put a curveball in plans. I mean, we could definitely go back and have more discussions with the Wild Rose School Division if council so wishes, but to be honest with you, I don't know what the timing of that is. It's pretty much going to put this project on hold till 2026. It depends on how receptive they are, so.
Councillor Cabrera.
Thank you. For myself, I'd like to see us go ahead with the 9 holes over here that's on the town land by the school there, and continue the negotiations with the school division. I think it's better to have 9 for now rather than none. And then hopefully we can come to some kind of agreement with them and extend it. I just don't want to put it off terribly long, and I don't know how long it's going to take to have more conversations and if it's even going to make a difference. I would rather just start with the 9, send the letter to them with the way we feel, with their request, and then just kind of go from there and see how it plays out. But I'd rather just get the project started sooner than later. And if down the road it ends up moving somewhere else, I mean, it sounds like it is easy enough to do. So I'd rather have something than nothing, personally.
Councillor Ald.
With that clarification, I'm going to rescind my original motion, and I will make the motion that be resolved that council instruct administration to decline the conditions set out by the Wild Rose School Division and proceed with the 9-hole disc golf course on the town of Rocky Mountain House property.
Okay, thank you for that motion. Do we have discussion on that particular motion? Deputy Mayor Hutchinson.
And I'm still kind of on the fence, because we did have, I know we've discussed this over and over again, but we did have conversation about 9 holes being available down by the water treatment plant. That was way back in the original plan. So, I mean, has there been a lot of money invested in the 9 holes that we're looking at right now? And if there hasn't been, is it an option to continue with the 9-hole somewhere else, or continue at the existing location with hopes that we can get an agreement with the school division at one time?
Councillor Ald.
And that's part of the bigger picture. I think the one down at the Riverview can only be 9 holes, where if we can get an agreement through the JUPA with the school division and in the future put the other 9 holes there, then we're set. But down there, we will only ever have 9 holes down there. And we're taking out a park down there, and it was contentious to begin with, so I'd be in favor of staying where it was, or the proposed site.
Yeah, I firmly believe this is a great project and a great initiative. My only concern is just the uncertainty now that's been put in front of us. More discussion? Councillor Musker.
Thank you. One final comment. I'd like to see it stay where it's been proposed, the 9-hole there. I'm certain that we'll be able to come to a fair and equitable agreement with the Wild Rose School Division regarding the other 9 holes.
Okay. I'm not seeing any further discussion, so I am going to call that to a vote. Is everyone clear on the motion that we're voting on? Okay, I'm going to call that to a vote. All those in favor? And that is carried. Councillor Cabrero.
Thank you. I'm just going to make another motion here. Be it resolved that council send a letter to the Wild Rose School Board requesting that a similar agreement to the existing agreements for joint land use to install disc golf equipment.
Okay, thank you for that motion. Any discussion on that particular motion? Seeing none, I'll call that to a vote. All those in favor? And that is carried. We'll move on to item 7.1, the Rec Master Plan change of scope. I see Lisa is coming up to present to us.
Good morning. My name's Lisa Cheer. I'm the Rec Service Manager. Wes Ament is not available today, so I'm presenting on the change of scope for the Rec Master Plan. From your package here, we're looking to add the sport tourism component onto the existing plan. So the original budget was $100,000. We are looking to stay within that budget. The Rec Master Plan was for $72,000, and then the new portion adds $22,500. And any contingency is then built into the quotes presented. They would do some interviews focused on sports and event tourism to support that study. And then kind of give us a SWOT analysis of our community. They would then see what kind of opportunities would exist for the town of Rocky Mountain House over the next 5 years. They would also engage with the Alberta Summer Games and look at some of those recommendations for our community. So that's kind of the bulk of it, I guess. So.
Okay, thank you
Any more
very
from me?
much. Does council have any questions on the proposed changes? Councillor Shippold.
The only, sorry, thank you, Acting Mayor. The only question I have is where the funds are going to come from, Mr. Crouse.
Oh, sorry.
No, so that is in the budget right now. Council budgeted $100,000 for the Rec Master Plan, which is actually cost share with Clearwater County. So it is in the budget right now. If you added it onto the scope of this project, it would be in the same approval that council did for the 2025 budget.
Councillor Roll.
Thanks, Lisa, for the report. I think it's a good idea. I think we're probably behind the 8 ball on the sport tourism and making Rocky known as a destination for event tourism. So I would be in favor of adding this on for sure. I think it could only do good things for our community, knowing where we're at and where we want to go in the next 5 years.
Deputy Mayor Hutchinson.
Thank you. I agree with what Councillor Alt has just said. You know, it's back to how council has been thinking strategically that if we have the information and kind of the plan on the shelf, when opportunities are there, we can take them and move forward. So I would make the motion if my computer would allow me to, because it's blank screen. Oh, there it is. So be it resolved that council approve the Recreation Master Plan change of scope to include the sports and event tourism opportunity assessment at the quoted price of $22,500 plus GST from Expedition Management Consulting.
Okay, thank you for that motion. Do we have any discussion on that particular motion? Seeing none, I'll call that to a vote. All those in favor? And that is carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Lisa. Moving on to item 7.2, the community profile and economic impact analysis. And I see Mr. Hartling is coming up front.
Good morning, Acting Mayor, Council. We're here today to review the Rocky Mountain House Community Profile along with an Economic Impact Analysis report. We're looking at developing a new community profile, because the one that we have is kind of at the end of its life, along with a Economic Impact Analysis report to attract business and industry. We talked about this briefly before, and the financial impact on this is with the 2025 economic development budget to promote and enhance the engagements of new business and resident attraction. The cost developing an impact analysis report is $10,000. The report is being offered at a reduced cost by McSweeney Consultants and saving $5,000 to the relations to developing an up-to-date community profile at the cost of $6,000 that we're doing under the CAPE umbrella. And that project is at a discount of $4,000. In the comments, I don't know if I need to read all this. I'm sure you all have on the community profile and economic impact analysis of what it entitles. They're both very valuable pieces to use for investment attraction or for having inquiries, whatever, that we can use for, I could say, the next potentially 5 years. There'll be another pull-out part of this as well. We're looking at why invest here points, I think is another valuable input just to kind of summarize for any inquiries that we have going forward. Any questions?
Councillor Shippold.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. To Mr. Harling, I guess my only concern is, are we going to get what we need? Is it going to have enough of the meat and potatoes in terms of when we talk to developers, they're looking for traffic counts, summer population growth in terms of the West Country. Will it include the county and the town numbers together? I just want to make sure that we have a document that when we give it to somebody who's looking at Rocky Mountain House, it covers the area, not the town specific. And I looked through the reports that are here, and there's a lot of good information. There's a lot of information missing as well that could be pertinent to them. So one of the things was in discussion with one was about First Nations and populations and where they do their shopping at. My fear is for the amount of money seems small for what I envision that we need. So I'm just questioning whether we're getting what we need or not.
We did discuss those items with McSweeney, and we can make sure that we can zoom in on some other specific items as well that you may see fit or in need. Mm-hmm.
I just have one question. Is this a report that can be updated on a regular basis to keep the information in it fresh and current?
With the impact analysis or the community profile?
The impact analysis.
This impact analysis will be one that's done, it's a one-off. It won't be, as we go forward, yes, we can definitely invest more into it and get more updates.
Any further questions, comments? Deputy Mayor Hutchison.
For some reason, anything I open on my attachments on my computer are taking so long to load, so sorry about that. I'm in favor of this plan. CAPE, we haven't had a lot of movement with CAPE over the past little while, but I think this is a good start to get our name and our area, advertised in a bigger stage, and the economic impact. Again, when we have these kind of documents and things at our fingertips, it's a lot easier to attract investors and people into our community. So having said that, I would make the motion that council proceed with the CAPE Community Profile Project at a cost of $6,000, which will be allocated from the economic development budget.
Thank you for that motion. Do we have any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, I'll call that to a vote. All those in favor? That is carried. And we have a second, Councillor Capero.
Thank you. Be it resolved that council proceed with the economic impact analysis report at a cost of $10,000, which will be allocated from the economic development budget.
Okay, thank you for that motion. Any discussion? All those in favor? That is carried. Moving on to item, thank you, Mr. Hartling. Moving on to item 7.3, the 2025 tax rate bylaw, and Ms. Quinlan is coming up.
Good morning, Acting Mayor and Council. So it's tax rate bylaw time. We received the updated assessment from the assessor. They finalize it in January, and then we, have a notice period where people can question it, and then they finalize it as of April 30th. So the tax bylaw, and I've provided some background here. As far as tax increases, quite often municipalities look at sort of what CPI is. I did a little bit of sort of comparison over the last 5 years, and the CPI for Alberta over the last 5 years has been 17.2%, but our overall tax increases have been at 8.38. So we have come in at lower. There was a period of 3 or 4 years where we actually did a 0% tax increase deliberately to try to bring down the residential tax rate, which I would say was very successful. This year, when we did the budget, we had proposed doing a 2% increase. I'll talk a little bit about some of the inflation that we've experienced, but to get the amount of taxes that we need for the budget, it's actually coming in at 1.77, which I think is great. So our proposed tax bylaw, we're providing for a levy of just over $10 million. There are some adjustments because we've got the provincial grant in lieu and the tax reductions for the tax incentive program. Our assessments increased this year by $31.1 million. It's now sitting at just over $1,057 million. 26.6% of that, or 26.6 million of that was due to inflation, and 3.5 million was due to new development. So the new development isn't exceptionally large. It would be nice to see that start to grow. I have included a table that shows what the split in inflation is. It changed the dynamics of our ratios a little bit because most of the inflation this year was on residential, so it went up about 3.78%. And the non-residential actually went down a little bit. The only reason I can think for that is I know a lot of the business assessment is done based on income, so they weren't maybe assessing property values so much. So, but it did change. It impacted how the tax increases calculate out because we do factor out the inflation. So I have included a summary of assessment by major class. So you can see that, yeah, the inflation for residential is coming in a little bit different than the non-residential. Just to note, when I do tax calculations, we factor out the inflation. So we don't step into the inflation because, one, that could put a lot of hardship on property owners, but two, if you have deflation, then what are you going to do? Like, are you going to start decreasing? So we look at collecting an absolute dollar value, and then if the assessment goes up, the tax rate goes down to compensate for the increase in inflation. And then we do the tax increase that we need based on dollars, not on assessment amounts. We do have a new class of taxation this year, and that's the affordable housing. We kind of debated how to handle it, but because we've got a 50% tax rate on it, we did create a new assessment class, and I thought it's probably better and more transparent to have a separate tax rate showing up for that, rather than lumping them, say, into the residential tax rate and then doing a discount afterwards. So it's its own class. There's 11 properties in there, and it's basically the tax rate is sitting at 50% of the residential tax rate. With the municipal taxes, I did kind of show a change in the rates between year over year, just to kind of try to show you what happened to adjust for inflation. And then there's the table. Basically, when it all is said and done, and I tried to show what the change was for each class, but a residential property is and that includes, single-family, multifamily, mobile home parks, and the land associated with the mobile home parks. They're looking at a $45 per year increase, which translates into $375 per month, which I think is very cognizant of, what people are struggling with. I think council was very deliberate when they did the budget in trying to recognize that. So that's what it's coming out at. The other ones, they ended up being a little higher, but that was partly because of the effects of inflation. The non-residential weighted average, I've included that just so you can see. It's coming in at 12.09. I did do just a really quick look at some of the financial indicator graphs, and we're still sitting just a little bit below sort of the group graph of where non-residential taxes would be. It's still a little bit lower. The education and seniors requisitions, they have gone up substantially, and I know we're taking that motion to A.B. Muni's. Basically, the education requisition increased by $343,000 this year, compared to ours of like $194. So it went up almost 12% overall from last year. And translating that into a tax rate increase, it's up about 3.45% that's what people will see on their taxes. So it is higher on residential versus non-residential. So, we do try to actively advertise this so that people, they're gonna get their tax notice and go, what? But the majority of it is an impact from the educational taxes. And the seniors housing requisition, it did go up by, almost $9,000, so not huge. It's only $64,000 on a $10 million, tax bill. But that is the summary of sort of where we're at with the taxes. Just a comment, I would request that we could pass all three motions, because we do need to get those notices out so that we give taxpayers, we like to give them 60 days to pay their taxes. They're due by July 31st. Is there any questions?
Okay, thank you very much for that report, Betty. Councillor Shipple.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. So Betty, I just want to go back to your opening line, okay? And your opening line was that you look at CPI, and I think the residents don't look at CPI. I think what they do is they correlate tax increases with the efficiency the way we operate our town. So I think CPI, I realize what you've done here, and ironically, when I went back to compare to last year, I made the same notes on the same sheet last year and said the same thing. So if it sounds like you've heard it before, I did say this last year, is that I think people perceive taxation increases as the efficiencies of the way the town is operated. So I just question when we relate to CPI, I think it's to the consumer, to our citizens, it's not relevant. So it is to us, could be to us, but it's not to our citizens. So just as a comment.
Mr. Kraus?
Yeah, and acting mayor to Councillor Schiffel, no, we appreciate that, and the CPI is a benchmark that is just used by municipalities to see how they align with that, and it's definitely not part of the calculations that administration does for council. I mean, it's just a benchmark. There are municipalities out there, their tax increase is CPI. That's just the way they are. So it's just a benchmark for our, clarification or what other municipalities are doing and so forth. So, but it's not a driving force in how we do the budget or the tax. For clarification.
Okay, any other questions, comments? Seeing none, we do have some recommended motions. Deputy Mayor Hutchinson.
Thank you. Thank you once again, Ms. Quinlan, for always giving us reports that we can all understand, because it can certainly be a little bit more difficult, but I'll make the motion, be resolved that council give first reading to bylaw 2025/10, being a bylaw for the 2025 rates of taxation.
Thank you for that motion. Discussion on that one? Seeing none, call it to a vote. All those in favor? That is carried. Councillor Musker.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. I'll make the second motion. Be it resolved that council gives second reading to bylaw 2025/10, being a bylaw for the 2025 rates of taxation.
And thank you for that motion. Discussion on that one? Call that to a vote. All those in favor? And that is carried. Councillor Ald.
I'll make the motion that be it resolved, council give unanimous consent for consideration to third reading for bylaw 2025/10.
Okay, and thank you for that. Any discussion? Call that to a vote. All those in favor? And that is unanimously carried. Councillor Caprero.
Thank you. Be it resolved that council give third and final reading to bylaw 2025/10, being a bylaw for the 2025 rates of taxation.
And thank you for that motion. Any discussion? Call that to a vote. All those in favor? And that is carried.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Betty. Yes, we will take a quick 5-minute break, and then we will come back. Okay, we are back to our council meeting, and we're going to move on to item 8.1, the AB Muni Summer Municipal Leaders Caucus. And we have some dates. This is something that isn't offered virtually, so there are dates that can be attended. Is there anyone on council that is interested in attending those? I would like to attend the one in Devon on June 26th. It's the closest one. Deputy Mayor Hutchinson.
Yeah, I would like to attend the June 26th as well, so having said that, I would make a motion, or pardon me, does anybody else want to attend before I make the motion?
Just a question, when's the deadline to register by?
That's a very good question. I believe it's early in June, but don't quote me on that.
Okay.
Are you considering attending?
Considering, but I just don't know if I can just send an email later once I know for sure, or if it has to be decided at this moment.
Well, I'll just make the motion that anyone wishing to attend the 2025 Alberta Summer Municipal Leaders Caucus to reach out to staff.
Okay, thank you for that motion. Discussion on that particular motion? Call it to a vote. All those in favor? And that is carried. The Business Retention Expansion course from the EDA, and that is May 26th. I know I will not be able to attend this. I'll be, I know we have a full day that day. And I'm not sure if anyone else is able to attend this. If not, then just looking for a motion to accept it as information. Councillor Schiffel.
Also make that motion and we accept the Business and Retention and Expansion course documentation as information.
Okay, thank you for that motion. Discussion on that motion? Did you have more discussion on that, Councillor Schiffel? Oh, no. Okay, all those in favor? That is carried. 8.3, back onto parade season. We have an invitation from the town of Eckville for a parade. Councillor Schiffel.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. Also move that we accept the letter as information and forward a letter back to them, thanking them for the invitation, and unfortunately will not be attending.
Okay, thank you for that motion. Any discussion on that motion? Call that to a vote. All those in favor? That is carried. And Deputy Mayor Hutchinson.
Thank you. I would just like to make a suggestion that we make a motion to have admin respond to all parade invites with just a blanket letter saying thank you for the invite and will not be attending.
Yes, thank you for that motion. That's a very good motion. It seems like we spend a lot of time discussing these invitations, and it would just be nice to have a letter be able to be sent out, and then we wouldn't have to consume our council meetings with these. Okay, any discussion on that motion? Call that to a vote. All those in favor? That is carried. Item 8.4, the Cape ADA course, June 27th. It's unfortunate that no one's available for the first one. These are generally really good courses to attend. This next one is in the Red Deer County office on June 27th. I would be able to attend this one. Is there anyone else that is wanting to attend? Okay, Councillor Schiffel.
I would attend that as well.
Deputy Mayor Hutchinson.
Again, I'll just make the motion that if any council wishes to attend the June 27th EDA performance measurement course in Red Deer to respond to the request from administration.
Okay, thank you for that motion. Any discussion on that motion? Call that to a vote. All those in favor? That is carried. 8.6, another parade in Camrose. Now that we've made that motion, Mr. Kraus, do we need to address this individually because it's on the agenda? Okay, so just get someone to accept this for information. Councillor Ald?
I'll make the motion, we accept 8.5, the Pinoka Stampede as information.
Oh. Yes, correct. I moved on to the Camrose one. Item 8.5. Thank you, Councillor Ald. All those in favor? That is carried. And 8.6 is the Camrose Parade. Councillor Schipple.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. Also make the same motion for this 8.6, that we accept this as information.
Okay, thank you for that motion. Councillor Ald, did you have a comment on that? Nope. Okay, all those in favor? That is carried. Moving on to correspondence for information. We have a few items here into correspondence for information. Is there anyone that needs anything there clarified or brought out? If not, just looking for a motion to accept correspondence for information. Councillor Musker.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. I'll make the motion that we accept items 9.1, 9.2, 9.3 for information.
Okay, thank you for that motion. Discussion? Seeing none, call that to a vote. All those in favor? And that is carried. The action list for May 20th, 2025, Mr. Kraus.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. Just going through the open items. So the first one is the draft P3 agreement that is in progress and should be back to council mid-June is their target date. The second one is the extension with the contract with Baker Tilly. Ms. Quinlan is working on that currently. Third one, the open house for the offsite levies that is being arranged by our Planning and Development Department. They have scheduled a date. I can't recall it off the top of my head. Business attraction, so that is addressed with council today. Housing study, I have a meeting with Mr. Emmons this week to discuss the housing study since they're looking for clarification of the scope and magnitude of that. Letter to Central Zone Medical Affairs. So that letter's in progress. The town will be drafting it to be co-signed with the county. Wayfinding signs, council approved the project, and our Planning and Development Department are just finalizing the contract with the supplier. The Alberta Summer Games, I know we've requested Clearwater County to consider that, and I will be discussing that more with Mr. Emmons. I'm not entirely sure of their decision, so we'll go from there. The Alberta Munis resolution was addressed by council today. Hosts the Cape Fall meeting that it has been scheduled and is in progress. Next one is the Riverview Outline Plan that is in progress. Mr. Schwader and I have a meeting with the consultant on May 28th to get that going. And next open one, contract for the wastewater treatment plant that should be wrapped up here this week, I believe. I'll have to consult with Mr. Shanks to make sure of that. Data center feasibility study that is in progress. And food cycle science, so that was for admin to look at options for commercial organics. That is scheduled for June. I'm just getting more data as Councillor Hutchison threw out Edmonton at the last meeting, so we are researching that. So it's been delayed a little bit from there. The tax forfeiture property is in progress still, right? Yes, okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kraus. Do we have any questions for Mr. Kraus on the action list? Councillor Ald.
I'll just make the motion that we accept the action list for May 20th as information.
Okay, thank you for that motion. Any discussion? All those in favor? That is carried. Any administrative inquiries today? Councillor Schipel, that was quick.
Thank you. So my question, Mr. Kraus, is there's a company putting in buried services out by the cemetery. And it looks like they're putting in a new feeder line into Fortis. But long story short is they're dug up places and they're using the next best thing, the pit run, as cover. And the town cuts all those ditches with a lawnmower. And the other thing is they got a couple of cement vaults that they buried in the ground, but they buried them so there's about 6 or 8 inches sticking up. So for a lawnmower, it's just going to be more whippersnipping for us to get around those. So at one time the ditches looked so nice out there, but they're doing a really good job of making it almost impossible for a town lawnmower. So I'm just wondering if Public Works might just check with the contractor who's doing it to make sure they do a reasonably decent job of leaving it. Thank you.
Any other administrative inquiries? Okay, not seeing any more, so we'll move on to notice of motion. Does anyone have any notices of motion? Councillor Schipel.
Oh, thank you. I have one, and I'll just put that forward. That we have administration review alternatives to rectify ongoing sewer freeze-up issues at 5911 65th Avenue, and further review an outstanding Bowman bill, Bowman Plumbing invoice related to this issue. And I've given a copy of that motion to Tracy.
Okay, thank you for that notice of motion. Do we have any other notices of motion? Okay, not seeing any, so we will take a quick few-minute break, and then we will go into closed session. Okay, we are back in live session, and I'm just looking for a motion to go into closed session. Councillor Auld is making that motion. All those in favor? And we are now in closed session. Okay, we are back out of closed session, and we have a couple of motions coming out of closed session. And the first one would be Councillor Caprero.
Thank you. Be it resolved that council approve the draft FCSS agreement as presented.
Thank you for that motion. Discussion on that motion? All those in favor? That is carried. And the next motion will be Councillor Musker.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. I move that we accept the CAO dialogue for information.
Okay, thank you for that motion. Any discussion? Call that to a vote. All those in favor? And that is carried. And with nothing left on our agenda, I will adjourn